Welcome to the Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. April's job report is a big downer, and Biden's excessive unemployment benefits is to blame. In Antrim County, Michigan, a citizen discovered 1,000 phantom ballots. He's suing the county for a forensic audit, but will the judge grant it to him? The UK doesn't want what happened to the US to happen to them. They're taking precautions and mandating voter ID for its general election. Okay, my friends, let's take a closer look together. The Bureau of Labor Statistics released its April job report on Friday. The U.S. economy added only 266,000 jobs last month, drastically below the 900,000 target. The employment rate only rose by 0.1%. America has 8.2 million fewer jobs than pre-COVID. Biden claims the report confirms the need to continue supporting small businesses through his American Rescue Plan. However, evidence is saying it's precisely because of Biden's excessive socialist unemployment benefits that job recovery is stagnant. The business survey shows the majority of small businesses are struggling in finding workers to reopen. A monthly poll by the National Federation of Independent Businesses says in April, 44% of small owners reported they couldn't fill job openings. Employers are complaining what they offer can't compete with the government's unemployment benefits. Nearly 40% of workers make more on Biden's $300 a week unemployment relief checks than they would earn by returning to work. So what's the point of returning to work? People respond to incentives, which is a very basic economic concept, but it seems Biden lacks common sense.
It's easy to say, the line has been, because of the generous unemployment benefits, that it's a major factor in labor shortages. Americans want to work. Americans want to work. As my dad used to say, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity, your place in the community, being able to look your kid in the eye and say everything's going to be okay.
Some states have already realized Biden's rescue checks are holding them back. Last week, Montana and South Carolina announced they would end deferral pandemic unemployment benefits next month. More states are expected to follow suit. Biden is now spending millions to combat so-called systematic racism and promote racial equity in STEM education. The theory of systematic racism just doesn't make sense. Matthew Frank, lecturer in politics at Princeton University, said that attributing racism to an entire economic and social system ends up blaming everyone and provides cover for the few actual racists. Frank said, if everyone in general, but no one in particular, is to blame, the few remaining actual racists among us are let off the hook. But progressives insist people like African Americans, Latinos, and Native Americans have been discriminated against and left with a social, cultural, and economic disadvantage. Biden is now targeting STEM education to level the playing field through the National Science Foundation, NSF. Since Biden took office, the NSF has already awarded millions in grants related to equity, diversity, and inclusion. On the federal government's grant website, the foundation will award $30 million to 45 grantees beginning in July. At the state level, Democrat stronghold Washington is responding to Biden's call and taking an initiative to, quote, dismantle institutional racism. Last week, Democrat Governor Jay Inslee signed a new bill to mandate critical race training for all K-12 teachers in the state. Beginning in 2022, school districts in Washington must use one professional learning day to specifically train all staff about cultural competency, diversity, equity, or inclusion for the purpose of, quote, dismantling institutional racism. When one party controls the three vital centers of state political power, the governor's office, the House, and the Senate, that party has a trifecta. Washington is one of the 15 Democratic trifectas in the country. Since 1992, the Democratic Party has enjoyed either total or partial control of the state's government. So it wasn't too much of a surprise to see the evergreen state mandating critical race indoctrination. But this is definitely out of sync with the rest of the country. Here's a May 7th map of states that have banned critical race theory or have introduced legislation to ban it. The good news is, at the state level, Republicans have 23 trifectas. The Department of Transportation declared a regional state of emergency after a cyber attack on Colonial Pipeline over the weekend. Colonial Pipeline operates a 5,500-mile system, taking fuel from the refineries of the Gulf Coast to the East Coast. It's responsible for 45% of the fuel consumed in the Northeast. The shutdown has already caused sales restriction at gas stations. At least 18 states and Washington, D.C. are affected. The Transportation Department announced on Sunday night that 4 main lines for fuel transportation were offline. The department is working on a system restart plan. As of Monday, Colonial was still working to get back the pipeline online. If they can't quickly resume transportation, areas including Mississippi, Tennessee, and the East Coast from Georgia into Delaware are likely to experience limited fuel availability and price increases as early as this week. The FBI has confirmed that malicious software from DarkSide was used in the hack. So what is DarkSide? The company is allegedly based in Russia. It's an organized group of hackers who sell ransomware to other criminals to carry out cyber attacks. On its website, DarkSide claims it's an apolitical and its sole interest is money. The FBI said the attackers stole a large amount of data before they locked Colonial's computers. This incident is considered one of the most destructive cyber attacks to date. It's been 6 months since the general election, but issues remain unresolved. William Bailey, a resident in Antrim County, Michigan, discovered that a recount in December tallied 15,962 ballots, but only 14,901 votes were on the Secretary of State's database. This means over 1,000 voters are not on the county's voter rolls. Antrim County is traditionally a red area. The 2020 election, the county was full of drama. On November 3rd, county officials declared Biden the winner by 3,000 votes. 2 days later, they said Trump won by about 2,500 votes. Another 2 weeks went by, and on November 21st, the final certification showed Trump beat Biden by nearly 4,000 votes. Officials blamed the skewed results on human error, but their margin of error from the initial count is 45%. Who's counting the votes for Antrim County? The answer is Dominion. Back in November, Bailey asked for a forensic examination of the machines and was granted relief. The team conducting the audit found several flaws in the voting software, but Dominion, the state, and county officials disputed the reports by questioning the examiner's credibility. Now, with the discovery of 1,000 phantom ballots, Bailey filed a new motion, asking for another forensic audit of the machines and an independent recount of the vote. Bailey's attorney, Matthew DePerno, also noted other irregularities that warrant a closer look. According to DePerno, the county's data shows near 100% turnout among voters aged 65 and 80. Yesterday, attorneys for each of the townships in Antrim County and Judge Kevin Elsenheimer joined in a video court hearing of the case. In the hearing, Elsenheimer said, "There's no doubt in my mind that if Mr. Bailey and Mr. DePerno believe there was a problem and issue that could be developed through discovery in the other townships." But the judge added that would have come in a timely way, given that the case has been going on since November-December of 2020. DePerno argues that Bailey was never granted an independent audit. All they've seen is a hand recount conducted by Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. Not surprisingly, Benson has been urging the judge to dismiss the case, claiming most of the relief has already been granted. At the end of the hearing, Judge Elsenheimer said he plans to come back with a decision next week, May 18th, whether to move forward with the case. In the wake of the effort in Antrim County, Trump issued a new statement Monday saying, "The major Michigan election case has just filed a bombshell, claiming votes were intentionally switched from President Trump to Joe Biden. The number of votes is massive and determinative. This will prove true in numerous other states. If a thief robs a jewelry store of all its diamonds, the diamonds must be returned." The 2020 election is a warning to all nations as well. In an effort to prevent and deter voter irregularities, like in the last U.S. presidential election, a photo ID will be required to vote in the UK's general election. The proposal is part of the Queen's speech to Parliament today. This is something new in some parts of the UK, but Northern Ireland already has voter ID requirements. The Electoral Commission said the UK has low levels of proven electoral. In fact, in 2019, there was only one conviction and one person was given a warning by police for impersonating another voter. Still, the ministers are pressing forward with mandatory ID and also limiting the number of mail-in votes that can be handed in on behalf of others. Similar to the US, the proposal has received significant backlash from progressive groups and LGBT communities. The British government is trying to prevent what happened during the US 2020 election from occurring in the UK, like voting tampering, vote dumping, ineligible people voting, and all the lawsuits and recounts. A Cabinet Office spokesman affirmed showing ID to vote is a reasonable way to combat the inexcusable potential for voter fraud in our current system and strengthen its integrity. Now, before we continue, if you like our program, please hit that like button and subscribe. It'll force the YouTube algorithm to share this video to potentially thousands of people. Also, I would like to request those who have an Eye Opener mug, if you could post a photo of yourself with your mug into the Eye Opener chat room on Telegram so that we can have a special toast on the show for you. And for those who haven't gotten their mug that matters, go ahead and check them out. Your support would be greatly appreciated. Salute. Up north in Canada, things are looking dim. Canadian pastor Artur Pawlowski, who went viral last month for expelling police from his church on Easter weekend, was arrested with his brother Dawid Pawlowski on Saturday. Pawlowski is the head of Calgary Street Church in Alberta. He and his brother are currently charged with organizing an illegal in-person gathering for providing church services. The arrest took place on a busy highway while the pastor's brother called the police Nazis and Gestapo. Reports had surfaced that the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC, a left-wing media outlet, was tipped off about the arrest. A CBC photographer just happened to be in the area to film the incident. An onlooker witnessing the arrest was condemning the officer for their fascist manner.
You guys, this is not communist China. Don't you guys have family and kids? Whatever happened to Canada? God keep our land glorious and free. What are they gonna do when they come for your kids? Shame on you guys. You call yourselves Canadians?
Pawlowski is the second pastor arrested in Canada. In February, Pastor James Coates of Grace Life Church of Edmonton was jailed for the same reason after he turned himself in. Coates had violated Alberta's Public Health Act by continuing to hold church services when ordered to stop. Authorities attended Coates' Sunday service and decided that he was not complying with his undertaking release conditions. Now, he was forced to choose between obeying God and the government. He felt that in good conscience he could not deny his congregation access to Sunday services, so he was arrested. Coates' church put out a statement after the arrest. We do not see our actions as perpetuating the longevity of COVID-19 or any other virus that will inevitably come along. If anything, we see our actions as contributing to its end, the end of destructive lockdowns and the end to attempt to institutionalize the debilitating fear of viral infections. Now, let's turn to some positive developments around the country. Wyoming has become the latest state to ban vaccine passports. On Friday, Republican Governor Mark Gordon issued a directive blocking state agencies from using vaccine passports. Gordon said in a statement, vaccine passport programs have the potential of politicizing the decision to vaccinate, and this decision should be a personal choice based upon personal circumstances. In addition to banning vaccine passports, the resolution pledges to protect Wyoming citizens against unconstitutional and medically irresponsible COVID-19 vaccine mandates. To date, 5 states have blocked the use of vaccine passports. Similar measures have been introduced or are being considered in at least another 6 states. On the same day, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp signed a new bill banning counties and municipalities from reducing police funding by any more than 5%. The legislation was a response to local calls to defund the police. House Speaker Pro Tem Jan Jones said the new bill will keep our communities and families safe across Georgia. Kemp is running for re-election in 2022. After his problematic handling of the 2020 election, former President Trump said he was ashamed that he endorsed Kemp years back. In December, Trump called on Kemp to step down. While having denied widespread voter irregularities in the presidential election, Kemp signed new voting laws in March to mandate voter IDs for casting absentee ballots. Georgia then became the first state to pass legislative measures for election reforms after the controversial 2020 election. This was a move that Democrats have gone completely mad over. Now, Kemp is supporting the anti-defund the police bill. It seems that Georgia governor is looking for ways to redeem himself for re-election. Do you think it will work? Currently, the biggest challenger Kemp faces is former Georgia Representative Vernon Jones. Jones was a Democrat state lawmaker who changed parties after endorsing Trump's re-election. Trump had publicly urged Jones to run for governor. On April 16th, Jones announced his bid for governor. He now has an endorsement from Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York City, and Bernard Kerik, the 40th Police Commissioner of New York.
The governor's office has failed to fight for you and for me. He failed those of us who hold dear our freedoms, our Constitution, and the right to a free, fair, and transparent election. Georgians know it. Why? Because I'm unbought, I'm unbossed, and the left, the Democrats, and the liberal media cannot play that race card with me. I dare you to. Let's go.
And that's it for today, my friends. Check out this playlist right here for more eye-opening content. You can join me on the Eye Opener Telegram chat room and follow me on YouMaker, Gab, and Parler. Now, don't forget, please sign up to our email list so that we can stay in contact with each other. I want to thank you all, and I'll see you next time.